That box is like 70 pounds. It's my new battery. I wonder how many elements you could fit inside some of these mansions. I've definitely spent some time in this city over the past 10 years, and I've had a lot of experiences here, both good and bad, during that time. I've been reflecting on some of those experiences today and thinking about how they ultimately resulted in me deciding to live full-time out of my Honda Element. When I graduated college, I ended up working for a big company down here for about 2.5 years. I've talked about this in the past, and I was never really very happy in that job. It was a pretty negative environment. I didn't really have the best office mates, I guess you could say. The folks that I worked with at my office were pretty negative, and it just really was not very enjoyable for me. I remember one of my bosses, he would always come into work every day, and you know how you make small talk at the office, hey, how's it going, man? That kind of thing. He would always say, living the dream, living the dream. Every single day he would say those exact words when someone asked him how he was doing when he came in the morning. And I could always detect this sense of sarcasm, this bitter unhappiness in the way that he said it. And I would also always think to myself, this is not my dream. I don't want to work in sales for this big company. I don't see myself in his position in 20 years, bitterly and sarcastically saying living the dream every single time I came into my job. And I'm thinking about this story now because we're walking around this neighborhood that we've been exploring this morning. Is a very wealthy area, and he actually lives in this neighborhood. So that's kind of what sparked this little story here. But, financially he did well for himself, but he always seemed very negative, and he was definitely pretty mean. That's a nice way of saying it. He was not the nicest guy. He didn't say the nicest things about other people, and I certainly did not want to end up like him in any way whatsoever. I was not happy in this job. It was miserable. I always found myself having to lie on behalf of the company. I always found myself in these negative situations with my coworkers, and it was not something that I wanted to do. And this is all kind of what sparked me to start exploring alternative living and to consider living in a van full-time. As unpleasant as this time was in my life, I'm very grateful for it. In a way, it's kind of made me the person that I am today. During this time I became very obsessed, I know I've mentioned this before, with the idea of reducing my month-to-month expenses because I saw that would give me greater financial freedom. And obviously the biggest expense of them all is rent. So if I could figure out a way to remove rent, I realized that I would be able to have more control over my own time and be able to work on the things that I wanted to work on instead of working in this miserable job. I eventually found sites like cheaprvliving.com and other YouTube channels, and I began to realize that there was an alternative to this lifestyle that I was trapped in. I started exploring van life more. I started exploring RV life, even thought about getting an RV at one point. It still took me over a year to finally make that leap, even after I left this job and start living full-time out of the element. But now that I've done it, I definitely do not regret it, and I've been really happy with this decision. I know it may sound cliche, but for me, van life was kind of the key to freedom. And I don't just mean that financially, but also in terms of the whole nomadic lifestyle. I always wanted to be able to travel, and since I've made the decision to live in the van full time, I've definitely been able to do that. Now, obviously, I don't think van life is necessarily right for everybody, but for me, it's something that I intend to do for the indefinite future. And if I do decide to move on from the van, I do always want to keep in perspective the idea of minimalist living. I don't really ever see myself wanting to pay rent at an apartment ever again. I don't really ever see myself wanting to take out a mortgage unless maybe it's for like an investment purpose or something like that. But to have that massive payment for somewhere to live when I can just live in a van or an RV for a heck of a lot cheaper, or even a tiny house, it just doesn't make sense for me to do that. So I accidentally forgot to take video of our Thanksgiving dinner yesterday, but it was really good.
Yeah, we had a nice turkey, sweet potato casserole, mashed potatoes, all the traditional stuff. It was nice because some of Nate's friends came over as well as some of mine.
Yeah, I had a couple of friends in town that actually don't live here, so it was nice to see them. And I actually went to dinner at their place first, and then went to our dinner afterwards, so I'm still pretty stuffed the day after. This year, I'm incredibly grateful for the support that I have from my family and friends. I've been able to make new friends on the road this past year, but I've also been able to meet up with a lot of old friends who I hadn't seen in a while, and I'm very thankful for those opportunities. I'm also incredibly grateful for the support that I've received from you guys, the viewers, the subscribers out there. The channel's at almost 25,000 subscribers at this point, and I would have never seen that coming a year ago, so I thank you guys so much for your support. And I'm also incredibly grateful for my Patreon pledges. Thank you guys for your contributions to this channel to help keep this journey alive. I do have 2 new Patreon pledges to thank before ending the vlog: Bo Adams and Debbie Fletcher. Thank you guys so much for joining the Patreon team. I'll talk to y'all in the next video.